But I'm especially conscious of it today because I think I have some idea of what kind of activist experience there is in this room. So yes, I'm going to talk for a little bit, but we do need to talk together about what we can do for some of the clear needs that Amy has outlined so well in her introduction. We need to brainstorm, we need to make sure that everybody be included, leaves here with some new piece of information, some new subversive organizing tactic, some new job, some new love affair, you know, who knows what happens. Because we are here in a unique combination of individuals that has never happened before. And it's never going to happen again in exactly the same way, right? So we really, truly need to use it. Now, in addition to that, there are all kinds of actions and encouragements and ideas and aha moments that we could share together that are not necessarily under the umbrella of reproductive freedom, though everything, in my opinion, is associated to reproductive freedom as a fundamental human right. One of the older ones, for instance, that we have been unable to move forward on because we've spent the last 8 years and more fighting to stay in the same place instead of moving forward, right? But I just want to remind us that we know how to do some things and we can move forward. Is that we first, of course, we're struggling for equal pay, which we don't yet have, as we know. But at least we have the principle and we have majority support, and we're slowly, with breathtaking speed, moving from 59 cents on the dollar to 77 cents on the dollar. At least we understand it, and we've got the majority of the country behind us. And of course, comparable worth also. I think that we do understand that equal pay doesn't work if you're in the pink-collar ghetto where everybody is being poorly paid, and therefore to establish the comparability of nurses and pharmacists or whatever the mostly female and mostly male area is important. But what we have not done, and we know how to do, is to attribute a value to work that has had no value, and that is caregiving. It is... It's a third of the productive work in this nation. The country could not possibly move without it. It is perhaps the biggest proof that what is valued is that which men could do, or do, if you know what I mean. I mean, the jobs are still valued both by sex and race and ethnicity. They're valued by the doer, not by the importance of the job. So we don't value our cars more than our children, but parking lot attendants do make more money than child care attendants because one is a male profession and one is a female profession. And you can, you know, look at all the ways in which this is true by sex and race. So comparability, you know, has not, and equal pay, you know, have still not gotten to their goals. But the third of the work in the country that is caregiving has zero value. Right? So that the women who are homemakers are still called women who don't work. You know, I hope no one introduces themselves ever again as a woman who doesn't work. You know, homemakers work longer hours than any other class of worker in the United States. And you know, for not even, I mean, the legal guarantee is room and board, you know, and 50, and what did you do with the $50 I gave you yesterday? You know? and statistically speaking, more likelihood of being replaced by a younger worker. And that means something to all women, whether we are full-time homemakers or not, because it's why the majority of women in this country have 2 jobs, because one job is invisible. So you have, I bet it's true, the majority of women in this room, you have one job at home and another job outside. And that is not possible. The women's movement never, ever said that we could or should do it all. Ever. It's the enemy. What really happened, I think, historically, is that we started to say, well, we'd like to be lawyers and machinists or whatever it was we wanted to be. And society said no. And then we did it anyway. And then they said, well, okay, providing you did everything you did before. You know, that you raise children, cook meals, and are multi-orgasmic till dawn. It makes you tired just to think about it. So it's in the interest, it's in everyone's interest to make visible and valuable the work of caregiving, which is done, I'm happy to say, more and more by men. Men are almost universally doing much more than their fathers did. Very, very big things. But that's still only on the average half as much as women do. So where we used to say that we were becoming the men we wanted to marry, remember that? Now we've figured out that too few men are becoming the women they wanted to marry. So, you know, we do have this double world problem. But whether caregiving is done by women or by men, it has a crucial value. It is in the national interest to value that work and encourage and reward it when it is done at home, whether that is taking care of children or elderly parents or invalids or AIDS victims, whatever it is, it's in the national interest to encourage and reward that work at home, because usually, not always, but usually it is done better at home with more individual sensitivity and attention, and also for a lot less money than doing it institutionally. Okay, that could be our next move. You know, we can do that. All we have to do is attribute a value at replacement level, at least eventually at the replacement level, for caregiving, and make it tax deductible. If we pay taxes, wouldn't be hard, right? I mean, we have attributed value as an economic principle in many other ways, right? Make that tax deductible if we pay taxes, and tax refundable if we're too poor to pay taxes. And we have established the principle of refundability, as you know. So, you know, it would replace the disaster, in my opinion, of welfare reform. We can do this. It's just a change in the tax code. It's not even a separate piece of legislation. It's the logical next step. We've known for the last 20 years it's the logical next step. And now, perhaps, as we have begun to move forward again instead of fighting to stay in place, we can do that. A more current example, I think, that we might, in the discussion time, also want to talk about is our concern about the resurgence of the violent ultra-right wing as we see the response to many things, but perhaps especially to Obama in the White House, and the return of McCarthyism, calling him a communist, a socialist. I think we probably all had our breaking point. Mine was when I watched a man with a loaded assault rifle marching around up and outside the Arizona health care hearings, and it was legal. I just thought, okay, that was like the final straw. And this is happening, the resurgence of the ultra-right is happening in many different ways. The membership of hate groups is up. The purchase of guns is up 50%, and that's just the request for permits. If you start thinking about what's being bought at gun shows and what's being bought illegally, it's hugely more than that. Obviously, the murder of Dr. Tiller, I mean, there has not been that kind of assassination since the last time that the ultra-right wing lost control of the White House and Congress in the Clinton administration. It does.